You ready?
Alright, let me put the cameras on. I'm gonna sync the audio. Alright, so we just left Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. So I'm not a huge fan of the Hunger Games, but I've watched every one of them, and you have...
I read the books years ago, but I just always liked the movies. I think the movies have done a good job of sticking pretty true to the books, but it makes sense because the writer of the books is the executive producer of the movie, so that kind of makes sense.
What did you think about the book, or the movie compared to the book, or whatever?
I think actually they probably did the best job that they could do to make the book, translate to the movie, because from what I remember of the book, I mean, it has been years since I read it. Well, number one, in the book, Effie is not in District 13. Effie, though, is in District 13 in the movie. I get why they did that. Otherwise, a very popular actress and someone that is, a good character would just be gone for a big chunk of the movie. So I get why they had to do that, because otherwise they would have had to explain, to me, I would think they would have had to explain what happened to Effie, because you know that Senna was killed, you know that, Joanna and Peeta and all these other people are captured. Well, what happens to Effie? And I think probably the author, Suzanne Collins, who's also the executive producer of these movies, I'm thinking, I bet it was her idea to have Effie in the movie, actually, because I wonder, as a writer, do you ever have any kind of, regret, I could have done this differently? And I think, when your book gets to be made into a movie, it's kind of your opportunity to get to do it again, do something different. So I actually think it was a good move to have Effie in the movie. It was still a very small role, but I get why they did it. If you remember from the book, you don't hear or even know that Effie is still around until the very end of Mockingjay. Now, the books do not split it up into 2 parts, so it's a very long book. Mockingjay was a very, very long book, and so you go hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages without ever a mention of Effie. But I understand why they had Effie in this movie. It was still a small role for her, but I get why they had her in it, because, they kind of needed that relief. She provides a little bit of comedic value, and they got rid of probably about 5 characters and just replaced those 5 characters with Effie, and it worked.
That's about the only difference.
In the book, she never has that conversation that she had with President Snow at the end. That wasn't a thing. That interaction never happens. Finnick had a much larger role in the movie than I feel like he did in the book. Same with Gale. It's funny how, to me, it's so teeny bopper to be Team Peter or Team Gale. But I think anyone who's actually read the books doesn't really understand the Team Gale thing. I think this actor, because he's so good looking, is what makes people all into him. And I think that's why they put him in the movies more in the forefront. Now, Gale did have a bigger role in the Mockingjay book than any book that the author wrote, but I feel like they made him much more prominent in this movie as well. So, as someone who's not read the books, what did you think?
I thought it was good. I thought that I thought the script and stuff was well done. The computer graphics were good. I didn't see many flaws on that side of it. I like some of the sarcastic humor that Jennifer Lawrence had. I like how, good if she wasn't such a good actress, I think it'd be kind of difficult to really get involved in the movie, because the movie kind of circles her.
Well, Mockingjay was a slow book. That's why,
they're definitely doing it, recreating the speed for the movie.
Well, and I think
it's leading up to a good finale.
What?
They showed the dam exploding. Nobody made it out of the dam. Placed the bomb. It was kind of like they just went on a mission. Nobody survived.
Well, thank goodness they, broke it up into 2 movies. And I think they have really set it up to be a very good and exciting finale to the series. And I'm not trying to say Mockingjay was not good. I think it was very good because, like I said, it took a slower book and really made it come to life better. And I'm really glad that, in all these movies, they've kept it from Katniss' point of view. Because, you know, they could have very easily in this movie, to even jazz it up more, they could have shown us what really Peeta was going through, and I'm glad they didn't do that, because they still left that element of surprise, because even as someone who read the books, it has been years, and so I had forgot the twist at the end. Until like seconds before it happened, I was like, oh, you know, this is what's about to happen. So even as someone who's read the books, you still are just as surprised in the movie as you were in the book.
I actually like Peeta's character probably for the first time.
He balances her out
in this movie because the way at the end he just flips out, and then I thought he did a good job there at the very end when she looks into the window and he's like going ape crazy, you know. I mean, I thought that it's for the first time that his character's actually got my attention, because he is kind of like a titty baby-ish type guy.
He is.
To me.
He's sensitive. He's everything that Gale is not.
He's like, because they are actually opposite. She's more the manly type, and he's more the touchy-feely type.
But, like, Gale and Katniss would never work, like, because they're so much alike.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think, you know, as you get older, you realize you don't necessarily need someone just like
Well, I mean, the movie did a good balance, because it talks about the glitz, the glamour and stuff for the propaganda, and then whenever it's got them out of the camera, you know, just regular life, they're wearing jumpsuits. That is probably the least attractive thing that she has ever, or the least attractive she's ever looked on camera is in this movie. Yeah, she is nothing like they're making out to everybody else that she really. She's more of an emotional person than anybody in the whole movie. I mean, she balls up and cries more than anybody.
Yeah.
Even her sister, which is younger than her. I mean, because she's got a lot of weight on her, it seems like, and she feels all that weight and reacts to it. The cons of the movie that that caught my eye in the movie that I didn't like was the one arrow shooting the two planes down thing with him.
I mean, you gotta think it's fake gadget.
I know, and I didn't like how she got the arrows from the 007 guy that makes all the weapons for James Bond is kind of making the weapons and doing the stuff for them. I know you got to show that, but to me, the first thing I thought of was like, wow, this is kind of from James Bond. I really enjoyed the skulls and the bones and all that of the District 12 being destroyed. My 1 to 10 scale for the movie, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10, because I honestly felt like I was in there for just a little bit.
Well, and for a chick flick, you gotta admit, I didn't drag you to a bad one.
Her acting was really good, because she wasn't really concerned with like her emotional, like the emotions on her face and stuff. Because one time she got some bad news, she's leaving out of her room, and she's kind of holding her stomach and everything, really acting out like how a normal person would. And sometimes people can overact those scenes and those moments, and you kind of catch it, or I do. And she kind of made it really enjoyable for me, because she really is kind of the whole movie almost. Jennifer Lawrence, she made the movie enjoyable for me the most. And if it wasn't for her and the way she is doing the character, which she's had a lot of time to really perfect it by now, but I don't know. So I give it an 8 out of 10 for me. I don't know if I could watch it necessarily again.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like okay, once and done, I'm ready for part 2.
Yeah.
Because this
and that's where it really picks up.
Yeah, this one was really just a filler to get you from catching fire to part 2. I know there's a lot of stuff a lot of emotion you had to gather, a lot of.
I'm so glad they split it up.
Small stuff like that.
You know, I did read the books. I don't think you would have sought out to go to this movie unless I wanted to go. So I do feel like, you know, I bring a little bit of a different point of view, a little more engaged in this one than probably the last movie that I didn't understand at all. So for me, as far as a ranking on this, because like I said, from the book, it really, really made it come to life better. I think the movie actually, and I rarely say this because I'm really, you know, big on comparing the book to the movie, and normally I always say the book's better, but I actually think the movie might have been better than the book on this one. I'd have to go back and reread it and make sure, but I actually don't know if I want to do that, because like I said, long read on that one. So for me, the movie was a 10 if you were comparing it to the book, because it made the book better.
standalone movie. It was like without a book. If you hadn't read the book,
if I was coming at it from your point of view, who've only watched the series, it's the most boring of the series. So I would definitely say it's probably 7 or 8 compared to the rest of the series. But like I said earlier, very necessary. You had to get all these parts in. It was much better. You know, you got to know some of the characters better, and I think that was good.
For me, I'd give 8 out of 10 for the movie, and you're gonna give 10 out of 10.
I really am, and I know that
book
it
to
sounds
film.
well, yeah.
Standalone film, if you're going to see it without reading the book, so it changes and downgrades because you don't appreciate it as much because you haven't read the book.
Absolutely.
And it hits that 7 to 8 out of 10, so we'll give you 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Doom da da doom ba boom ba ba boom ba.